What is going on, everybody? This is BroncoJuggalo, and it is time for one-on-one with BroncoJuggalo. My very special guest today is the director behind cult classic. I call it cult classic for sure. Oh, there we go. Every week. So yeah, try to be professional, and this is what happens. I get something that interrupts.
It happens.
So, the director behind Morbid, also Screwdriver, and the third movie, I believe it was called First of the Five Doors of Hell.
At door one of the five doors to hell.
Door one of Five Doors of Hell.
Probably should have rethought the title. It's hard for people to get together whenever we talk about it.
Hey, I'm actually looking for that one too. I want to see it. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chuck Conry, thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
I truly appreciate it. We had a little snafu last week, but I'm glad that we were able to get back on track and get going. I've definitely been looking forward to this interview because I've got some fun questions I want to ask you, and I've got some weird questions I want to ask you.
So, well, I'm all for any questions, so that's fun.
I got some of the, basic, basic kind of what's going on kind of questions. I'm just going to start with the first one here. Let's just basic getting to know you stuff. Yeah. What got you interested in filmmaking? What made you want to be a filmmaker, and how did you get started?
I always loved like horror films in general since I was a kid, and traditionally people my age, it all starts at the video store when you rent videos when you're a kid, and I just I just got to where I just got obsessed with collecting them, and I started buying all kinds of them when I got out of high school, and then eventually I was like, well, why don't we just make one? Because when you finally see stuff that's shot on video, you're like, maybe it's possible to make your own movie after all, So seeing a couple of shot on video movies, we was like, well, let's give it a try, and we did, and that kind of brings us to where we are.
So it wasn't like you were like a 5-year-old saying, I'm going to be a director one day?
No, when I was 5 years old, I was sure I was going to be like the WWE World Champion back then, but that didn't pan out,
Hey, I wanted to be that too. I'm a big WWE fan. I always have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
In fact, that brings me to a question that we're going to be asking a little bit later. Mm-hmm. I could ask it now, but I want to wait on it just a bit.
All right.
As I told you just a few minutes ago while you and I were talking, I love Morbid. I think it's a great film. I haven't seen your other two films yet, but I definitely want to. I'm waiting, like you said, to get that next release of the Screwdriver Morbid double feature. And you said that'll be coming out through SNS when?
Yeah, SRS in August, sometime in August.
Okay. So that'll be the DVD copy, guys. They just put out the Blu-ray, but it's already out of print. But they will be dropping a DVD 2-pack for Morbid and Screwdriver in August. So that's always good to know, so we know where to get these movies. Your other film, where can we find that one?
That one is actually coming out from SRS as well, and it comes out in July. So it's in July, and then the other two's in August, which it was around and like one of those limited Blu-ray releases for a while. I don't think it ever sold out, but I think maybe it's sold out now because it ain't available now, but they're putting it out in July though.
Okay, cool. On something else, guys, I just learned is that Chuck told me that Morbid was actually the very first Raw movie for the Wild Eye label. Before they had Raw and Extreme, they had the Raw label, and Morbid was the first one. So that's pretty cool. I want to thank you very much for telling me that because I think that's dope to know.
I feel like maybe it was so weird they didn't know what else to do with it. So they made a whole new line, I guess, for it. But
it's definitely, especially that ending, I gotta say that gave it the extreme part for sure.
Yeah. That almost didn't actually get filmed, the ending part, because when it's in the script, everybody was kind of weirded out by it. They're like, well, are we really going to do this? I was like, we might as well do it. Because
I love it, man. And I love how they on the DVD of Morbid from Wild Eye, I'm not sure about the others, but on that release, you have a tutorial.
Yeah.
On how to do that. I was like, that's awesome.
It's fairly simple, just little Play-Doh and an old garden hose, and you're set.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing when I saw how simplistic it was. I was like, I got to do that for one of my things that I'm doing. That's just cool.
Yeah.
I got to ask you. So, aside from filmmaking, you have a website, you have a YouTube channel. Just like our friend Dave Maggot, he also does YouTube, and he's also a director. He does films. which do you like doing more? Do you prefer doing the reviews and things more, or did you like the filmmaking more? Do you like doing that more?
I like filmmaking more. You know, when you're a reviewer, you know, it's one thing, but then when you start making movies, it kind of maybe makes being a reviewer a little bit more difficult because you're kind of judging your peers' movies when they come out, you know, and it's weird, you know, like your friend makes a movie, you watch it, you review it, and you're wondering, you know, you want to be honest, but at the same time, you don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings with it. If you're just making movies, you're just making them, you know, and let somebody else do the judging on them. So I prefer to
Right.
do that, although I do both still.
Right. I can be pretty harsh on movies, even, I do a lot. I watch a lot of independent horror, so I always judge independent horror on. I don't know if I want to use the word curve, but if you definitely judge it as independent, like we were talking about a few minutes ago, you can't judge it like you would a mainstream film,
No, there needs to be like
and
different tiers to it.
exactly. But like, there's good and there's still good and there's still bad, and
Hmm.
sometimes they're so bad that it's good, and
Yeah,
sometimes there's hilariously bad and intentionally bad. Like, I'm not sure if you've seen that movie, The Velocipaster, but there's parts in there
no,
where they intentionally put, like, instead of having the car blowing up, they put in special effect missing car blowing up or something due to budget or something. And it's just like intentional. They're making it kind of bad on purpose.
yeah, and I can
You
appreciate stuff like that.
it's always fun. Um, with Door 105, with Door 105, Doors to Hell,
Hmm.
Morbid, now Screwdriver, all under your belt. How do you think you've progressed so far as a filmmaker from when you first started with Morbid?
Well, I feel like there probably wasn't nowhere to go but up after Morbid because we had no clue what we were doing while we were making Morbid, which is obvious in some spots of it. But we have more of an understanding of it now. I think I know about how to pace a story a lot better now than I did
Mhm.
when we did Morbid because some of that drags. Because I love Quentin Tarantino; it's like my favorite director ever. So I was just writing a bunch of dialogue, and I thought that some of it was way more interesting than it probably ended up being. So there was definitely pace issues I thought with Morbid that I think I've worked on and progressed on recently with the new stuff. But
Mhm.
like I said, I mean, it's just I know more. I still don't know everything, but I know more than I did know. So we're still
Right.
learning.
Almost definitely. And I definitely can appreciate it. And you can see in Morbid, though, you could see the potential that you had as a filmmaker. There are certain things, the way you set up certain shots, and the way you wrote the movie with some of the like dialogue in the scripts, or some of the more interesting lines of the film that we'll talk about here in a while.
Mm.
Um, you could definitely tell that there was a penchant there for it, that you could do it. So, and
Yeah,
like you
like
said, kudos on that, because it's not something a lot of people can do.
yeah, a lot of people love the first part of the movie. Up to the opening credits. A lot of people just seem like they really like that part of the movie even more than they do the rest of it. I don't know why that one for some reason seemed like it was more like what I was going for than what I got with the rest of it. I don't know why. I feel like we were rushed a lot of it. That's why we didn't have time to kind of harness it in a little bit for the rest of it. But I'm really like some of that from like the opening part of it to the opening credit part. That's probably like the favorite little piece of film I've done even today.
Oh, really?
Because
That's
it seemed
cool.
like the dialogue seemed like it flowed better, and I don't know. I just really had a blast doing that.
So, as far as the horror genre, and obviously Morbid's a slasher, I believe Screwdriver's a slasher as well, correct?
Yeah, yeah. It's a more comedic slasher, but it is a slasher.
Would you say, like, are your biggest influences in that horror slasher genre? Like, what's your favorites?
Definitely Friday the 13th. Like I grew up watching those, and that was like my number one horror thing when I was growing up. I love as far as slashers go, Intruders like probably one of my favorite slashers ever made. The I forget the
Mm-hmm.
director's name, but Synapse put it out. Bruce Campbell's friends and everything made that one. The one in the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know. That's the main ones. Although I like pretty much any slasher film from Slumber Party Massacre 2 to Madman. All the essential slashers. So I grew up really liking those. Plus Scream. Scream's kind of a big influence too. The original Scream.
It's always kind of cool to hear that from me. My favorite horror director is Rob Zombie. Not Rob, I'm sorry, is Wes Craven.
Hmm.
And even though Halloween is my favorite horror film of all time, Wes Craven is my favorite director. And Nightmare on Elm Street is like barely that far below Halloween. And the Scream growing up, I didn't like Scream when I was growing up. I was like, man, this ain't near as good as the old ones. It's not scary. But I didn't realize at the time that by the time I was 14, 15, whatever it was, that I was so desensitized that, it just didn't seem all that big. But now that I've watched it over and over again, I've gotten such a respect for it. It's such a good film, and it's done so right, and it's aimed perfectly at its audience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that Wes Craven was always able to do, was aim something perfectly at his audience. And I think that with independent cinema, that's something you kind of capture as well. I'm not sure. Do you plan on taking any? Do you take any of the other movies, or do you take any of your movies to festivals?
I haven't done that. Like we were going to do one. There was like one in Chattanooga that we were going to do. I believe it was early this year, but of course everything's still kind of locked up due to the Corona stuff. So that didn't happen. But I'm not above doing it at some point, like especially around here. I'd like to do it to see how it is, because I've played I've had movies that I've involved in theaters and stuff before, but I would definitely like to try a festival out sometime.
That'd be really cool. It'd be cool to see your movies go to a festival. Yeah. Even if, just for the sake of the fact that you get kind of a screening release.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Sorry, a little indigestion there. I apologize. Oh, so as far as obviously with Morbid at least, and like I said, I really can't wait to watch Screwdriver and the first door of the 5 Doors of Hell, or door number 1 of the. I'm never going to get that title right.
It's hard to get right, but yeah, door 1 of the 5 Doors of Hell.
Well, it's got almost the title at least has almost like a Italian giallo kind of title feel to it.
That's what I was kind of going for with it. I think the influence for that was probably the Beyond. Then they mentioned something in the Beyond about something being like a door to hell or something like that.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, well, we could just call it door 1 of the 5 Doors of Hell, which is never pronounced right anywhere. So don't feel bad about it.
But obviously, and we were talking about this a little while ago, I don't want to give the ending of the movie away, because there are still a lot of people that haven't seen Morbid. And that's part of what I love doing, especially with these, Wild Eye reviews and independent film reviews, is getting more people open to seeing these films. Whether it's through a streaming service or through finding the copies out in the wild or on eBay or whatever. When we do these reviews, as well as I do as a reviewer, that sometimes even if there's one more person is going to go out and find that movie and watch it.
Yeah.
So it's always good. So I don't want to give the ending away, but I did want to talk about your thoughts on lower budget special effects. Is this something that because I watched, like I said, the tutorial on I'll just call it the body part for Morbid. Is that something that you guys that you learned how to do on the spot? Is it something you've always been interested in doing? And what kind of other things do you do, and have you learned as far as effects go?
It's more like, just trial and error there. I've got friends that are obsessed with watching special effects tutorials, and they've watched slashers, and they go back and figure out how they did the kill and all that stuff. So we're trying to figure out how to make something cool that we had no money to make. So we just improvised and just, it was trial and error, and some stuff works and some stuff don't work in the movie, obviously. But I try not to my main thing is I'm really not too big on CGI stuff and computer generated effects in indie stuff. But even I've resorted to using very few of that in recent films, but not with blood, though. Obviously, we always keep the real stuff on that. But I don't know. I don't really consider myself to be an effects person, although I do know how to do some effects. But I think when you're doing a low budget film, I think the more effects that you got there, the better usually, and the more blood you can throw into it, the better. So, and sometimes you come up with stuff that's kind of cool, like what we used at the end of that movie, which was pretty cool. And then sometimes you end up with stuff that don't work very well. We had a guy that gets his eyes poked out, and he's laid on the ground, and it looks super poked up there in the shot. Which if I could go back, I'd have done more of an overshot, so you couldn't have seen that. But it's always you just got to try it and see what happens most of the time.
One of the cool parts about that eye scene, though, was, if I remember correctly, there's a shot where the eyeball is laying on the ground.
There is one, where it's the eyeball on the ground.
if you look close at it, I'm pretty sure I'll have to. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was a sucker.
It could have very well been.
It looked
I
like
mean,
one of those big giant, the big blow sucker, not blow pops, but like the
yeah.
gourmet ones that had been painted or whatever to look like an eye, and then like they wrapped some like stuff around the stick part and bent it and all to make it look like the tendons or whatever are behind the eye.
Yeah,
And
we've got like stuff like we get props out of quarter machines and stuff at the Dollar Tree. So I'm not really for sure that could have just been a
oh,
sucker that somebody bought and brought. I don't really remember where we got it, but I do believe like the parts of the eye was just wadded up like paper towels with blood all over them.
right.
So I mean, it was simple stuff.
Yeah, I do some small film stuff. I've only done it on my channel and on other
Mm-hmm.
people's channels where we've done, short films, things like that. And then I've
Mm-hmm.
also been in a couple movies, or I've been in one movie that a friend of mine directed for an anthology.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to be in another movie coming up soon. But, like, shit, I just lost where I was going with that.
It happens.
Uh, okay, all right, sorry. I'm just going to go on to the next question because I really lost it.
I lose my train of thought all the time. Don't worry about it.
Well, I had it, and then I looked at the chat for 2 seconds, saw somebody say, I've only seen Morbid, now I need to see more, and I just totally lost what I was thinking. Something I have to ask you about, and this goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about you're a WWE fan back when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I saw on IMDb, it states that you're a pro wrestler.
Yeah. Pro wrestler. I dabble in the indies around here.
How does that happen? I did some backyard wrestling when I was younger, like that extreme crap you saw in videos.
Yeah.
And all we ended up doing was hurting people and sending them to the hospital.
It's not too far from what we're doing, I'm sure.
But I saw this. I saw this picture of you holding up a belt and like in the middle of a ring, and I was like, man, is this guy really a wrestler? What's going on there? Have you done any like show? How has that all come to be? And what's going on there?
Well, obviously I know a little thing about filming stuff and all that. So there for a while, the local wrestling company here had me come down and we were filming the shows and I was doing commentary for the shows and did that for probably 6 months. And then, as always seems to happen, I go from being a commentator to actually wrestling in the ring. So I just kind of transitioned into being like I said, professional wrestler, at least local Tennessee indies anyway. And, I've done that now for probably 2 years now, and
Really?
I've won the heritage title here and the tag team title here. So, which funny enough, I won the tag title with in Morbid. The guy who plays the detective, Brostersky, me and him were the tag team champions for a while.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. So that's going to open up a couple extra questions for me that I'm just going to throw at you real quick, just some small things.
Right.
What's your finisher?
Oh, I use the old-fashioned DDT, which it kind of lost its luster. It was like a big deal in the '80s when Jake Roberts did it. So I figured, why not bring it back?
Now you got to put like some spin on it or something like Randy Orton off the second rope or or something that the atomic DDT, something you got to put a different name on it or something to make it sound more like it's more lethal.
I've used just like the regular DDT, but every now and then I've draped somebody across like a top rope or a middle rope and hit it, which would need a little bit of oomph. And then, of course, my secondary ones is the old Stone Cold Stunner, which is like everybody that like can't wrestle that good seems like they use a Stone Cold Stunner. So it's easy to do and it looks cool. So I use that.
Oh, Kevin Owens better watch out.
Yeah.
So, when you're wrestling and all, is there certain moves that you'd like to take, don't like to take? Certain bumps that you don't want to hit? For the people that don't know what a bump is, it's basically when you get hit and you fall and you take a hit by another object, usually the mat.
I try to avoid anything off the top rope because I'm scared of heights. So really? I try to avoid the top rope. I've not took a power bomb. I don't think I'd want to take a power bomb because all that really depends on your opponent and how well they got a grip on you. So,
Mhm.
and that could be bad. It's been bad for a lot of people over the years that didn't go right for.
Power
But
bombs and tombstone
yeah,
power
yeah.
drivers can.
Anything that deals with the neck is not good.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I keep it pretty safe. Everything I do, mostly I do a lot of hardcore stuff, but I know that's keeping it safe, and hardcore stuff don't seem like it
Yeah.
goes hand in hand. But a hardcore match is probably like one of the easiest ones to do because you're really just hitting people with stuff.
Yeah, see, and when the few times when I used to do that when I was younger, and this is much younger when I was, 18, 19 years old. I
Hmm.
mean, we were just beating the crap out of each other. We weren't,
Yeah,
we weren't
that's
really.
what we basically do. Yeah,
I mean, I've still got some scars and stuff back here from
I've got a
taking
few.
things
I
over
got
the
a
head.
few. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool though because like I've done shows with people from like Impact Wrestling. I did show that the Rock and Roll Express was on.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's
It's
what I want
always
to
cool
ask
to
you.
see those.
Have you got to meet anybody doing this? Have you got to?
I've met
Like,
the Rock and Roll Express. I've met Billy Gunn, James Storm. I'm trying to think. Like I'm drawing blank on it now, but like a lot of the older guys, like Bill Dundee, if you remember him, from like real big
mhm.
in Memphis wrestling around here, and uh, that's probably like the biggest ones. Like Brandon Cutler, he's on AEW right now. He's like real good friends with the Young Bucks. I did a show with him, and it's I've drawn Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty was on the show that
Oh, that's
I did.
cool.
So it's
Do you got
always like
anything coming up with that?
not really. I'm kind of like on a break from it now because I'm trying to get more movie stuff going, and it really
Mhm.
seems to occupy a lot of time when you get in the wrestling business because that's been like my weekend for a year or plus now, and we barely got Screwdriver finished because we were wrestling. So I'm trying to you know peel back a little bit on that so I got more time to actually focus on movie stuff, which I love wrestling, always have, but I prefer to get the to do the movie stuff.
Well, since you have access to a ring and that kind of environment, and some of those talents, ever
Hmm.
thought of making a wrestling film or a like I know Wild Eyes put out has helped put out a couple wrestle what was it, wrestle not maniac
Hey, is it WrestleManiac?
well no WrestleManiac is that's I don't want to say independent film because that was a more of a it had a more of a budget in
Is it
making it,
Wrestle?
but it was also through like I think it was
Yeah.
through Lionsgate,
Oh,
and
that's the Luchador one, right?
that one
Yeah.
has Rey Mysterio Senior in it. Yeah, Rey
Okay. So
Mysterio,
this is Wrestle
and
Massacre then, right?
okay, yeah, Wrestle Massacre was through Wild Eye, and then they did another
Yeah.
one called Parts Unknown. There was another one called Parts Unknown,
I think I've got that one. I also
and
got like one called Power Bomb that come out recently
yeah.
from somebody, but I don't remember who put that one out.
Have you ever thought
But
about doing like a wrestling horror movie or something? That'd be cool.
I just have thought about it. I just don't know if it's going to be like a full thing or if it's just going to be like a segment for like another thing I'm doing because I keep wanting to do like part two of Door One to Five Doors of Hell because everybody seems like they like it so much, and I keep saying I'm going to go do a part two of it, and I've got like a half of it planned out and written, ready to go. I just never got around to it. So the wrestling thing could be there or it could get its own thing. It'll be there somewhere.
That'd be cool just to even see it in part of a movie. That'd be cool.
Hmm.
I can't wait to watch that movie. By the way, I can't wait for July so I can get a copy.
I feel like it's my best work. I mean, maybe I'm partial to it. I don't know. It's like an anthology. I don't know if you're familiar with the plot, but we actually filmed it at like one of the last remaining video stores around here. It's a mom and pop video store. It's been around since like the 80s, I think. And basically, just a bunch of kids rent a cursed VHS tape that's a shot on video anthology film. And as they watch, they get sucked into it one by one and have to live out a segment of the anthology on the tape.
Yeah, all I know
So,
about it is what I read on online about it.
yeah.
And because when I was doing research for the interview, and I was like, because I knew you did Morbid, I knew you did
Mhm.
Screwdriver, I didn't know about the other one, and
Yeah,
I definitely
this
want
was
to
the
see
second
that.
one I did.
And I really want to see a. I mean, this is just me. Take it however you
Mhm.
want. I would like to see a sequel to Morbid.
I've had that thing like we've planned on doing that forever, and it's just we've never got around to actually getting it done. We've got a script that's pretty well done about it, and it's like any questions anybody probably had out of the first one, we tried to answer it in the second one. And it's just I don't know. I mean, it's so much time's went by now. I mean, I don't think it's too late to do it. I think maybe would be better from a storyline point of view to do it years later. So I mean, it's just a matter of just getting it done. But I do have an idea for it, and for that matter, I have an idea for like a full trilogy of it. But
Oh,
I
that'd
don't
be
know
dope.
if we ever get to
You,
it.
you never did reveal the killer, so it's still open. I mean, you can,
Yeah.
you could do it.
Hmm.
I fully expect the killer, by the way, to be that
Yeah.
drunk sheriff.
Well, I
He's
mean,
the killer.
there's clues. There's clues if you watch throughout the movie. There is clues of who it could be. Which one reason we kind of left it open is we're referencing Black Christmas at the start of the movie, and that kind of like foreshadows that you're never going to know who the killer is, because in the original Black Christmas, when it's over, you really don't know what's going on. There's a crazy
Right.
guy, and he's calling these girls at the sorority or whatever, but you never really figure out anything about it. And original Halloween, like before they come out with the other ones, you didn't really know why Michael Myers was killing everybody. He just goes crazy one Halloween or whatever, and then
Yeah.
he's just killing people, and that's just it.
Well,
So we kind of try to do that, with this.
you and I were talking about the people that give shit reviews on things, kind of just to be jerks or whatever.
Hmm.
And I think it's something people need to be reminded of, especially. And I try to remind people of it a lot in my own work on YouTube and stuff. Is that people out there think of Halloween's and all that as mainstream films, which yes, they are now.
Yeah,
But when those first ones came out, they were independent cinema.
they were.
When,
Yeah.
Last House on the Left, when Halloween, when even Friday the 13th, whether it was
Hmm.
put out by Paramount or not, it was them doing an independent film basically that just happened to get a studio to back it. Finally.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those movies, even Star Wars is still considered the number one independent film of all time.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
it gets
George
lost
Lucas
in the
was an
shuffle.
independent film director.
Yeah. Yeah, and all that gets lost in the shuffle these days,
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, like there's a little bit higher level of indie stuff now that when people think of like indie stuff, they think of like House of the Devil, stuff like that. Just the little like that. There's tiers to the indie stuff.
I think the big indie films right now, probably the biggest one at this point in time in the last few years,
mm-hmm.
has been Never Hike Alone, which is a fan film.
Yeah, that thing it got real popular.
I mean, people look at that movie and see what they were able to do and the quality and stuff. And I actually had Vincent on as a guest on the channel,
Yeah.
and we talked about some of those shots that they pulled off and things like that, and they look like helicopters. It was just a drone.
Yeah,
It was
drones.
a drone they picked up for a Radio Shack. I mean,
drones had a lot of production value. I got a friend that like flies drones. I didn't get to get one in any of these movies, but I'm definitely going to have a drone shot somewhere in my next one, probably just because it looks cool. But yeah, man, it's like people forget about that stuff where like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that. People forget
right.
The humble beginnings of these movies that went on to be big blockbusters.
And what's funny with TCM, at least until the remakes came out, in my opinion, nobody should forget about the humble beginnings, because all the original films are all pretty humble, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my own weird opinions on the TCM franchise that seem to bother people for some reason.
I like part 2 better than I do the rest of them.
I'd say I'm the opposite. I hate part 2.
That's the first one I've ever seen, though, so that's probably why I'm more partial to it.
I have my own opinion. Like, I love the original, but I've always found it to be more overrated than people cite it as this masterpiece of cinema. And I don't really see that. I see a lot of the flaws in it, and I see a lot of the things that, as a new filmmaker, just like we were just talking about indie filmmakers, that Tobe Hooper kind of stumbled his way into.
Yeah.
There's certain things that he didn't plan, and it just became a big thing,
Well, that one benefited a lot from the hype that surrounded it when it came out. It looked kind of like a documentary because it looked so rough,
Yeah.
Plus, it had a really cool title, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and a lot of people will tell you that movie's a whole lot more gory than it actually is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind me asking you one more wrestling question, if you could work your dream match, who would it be with?
Kenny Omega, probably.
With who?
Kenny Omega from AEW.
Oh, really? Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
None of the big legends or anything, huh?
Well, second would be The Rock. Would be number 2 would be The Rock, but current would be Kenny Omega.
I've got a lot of respect for Kenny Omega. He's a very talented person. I know that CM Punk loves him. I'm not a big CM Punk person. I don't like him.
Me neither.
But it's not his abilities that are anything. It's his I feel like, and I don't want to go off on a whole nother subject, but
Hmm.
when he left WWE, the way he did it, to
Yeah.
me, was kind of a slap in the face to the fans more than anything. And so I still don't understand why people sit there and chant his name when he basically told the fans to go fuck themselves.
He
You know, I
did.
mean, they paid their
He
money
got
to see him, and he just didn't decide to show up. That was messed up. You know.
he got like too big for himself. Really, he
Mm-hmm.
got too caught up in his own hype, I believe, and he walked out. And of course, it did. I don't really. I mean, he's not hurt for money or anything, obviously, but it didn't really help. I don't think that he walked out because he walked into UFC, and you seen how that worked. And
Yeah, yeah,
of course,
it did.
he's had a few decent movies though. I mean, he was in what was that one movie he was in the with the house that's got all the creepy stuff going on. The girl on the
Girl on the
third
third floor.
floor. Yeah, yeah.
I haven't got to
That,
watch it yet. I hear that it's. I've heard from friends of mine that have seen it. Even my boss has seen it, and
mhm.
she told me, and she's not a critic or anything. She likes horror movies, but she's not a
Yeah,
reviewer or a critic or anything. But she told me that it really did feel like it was just sex shock for sex shock's sake.
it could
And so
be.
I haven't watched it myself yet, but I do have it on the list to watch.
I got some Evil Dead vibes out of it because I think even at one point he's even wearing like the blue shirt like Ash wears in Evil Dead, and
Oh, really?
there's a lot of splatter and gore that happens at different times in the movie. So I feel like there was a little bit of a hint of Evil Dead in there with it, but it wasn't on the level of Evil Dead, obviously, but it had a few little hints to it, I believe.
Well, your films, at least as far as the one that I've seen, and like I said, I can't wait to watch the other two. I really can't.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I may have one of my friends that did get a copy of it send it to me before.
Yeah.
I was hoping he could send it to me before we did this interview so I could talk to you more about it, but that wasn't able to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I when you're making it, some of your films are kind of extreme in the in the sense of some of their content. What do
Yeah.
you think is too far in a movie? I mean, have you seen like Serbian film, things like that?
That could be too
Um,
far. So Serbian film could be too far. There's uncomfortable stuff in it, but like
mhm.
my thing is though is I feel like a lot of that stuff in Serbian film is just there just to be extreme, just for the
Yeah,
sake
that's
of
exactly what I don't
sake of
want
it.
it. Yeah, I felt the same
If
way.
it's I feel like there may not be a limit to it as long as it has like a purpose. But if you're
Mhm.
just doing it just to do it, then I think maybe it kind of like gets a little redundant at that point. I'm not that big of a fan of Serbian film. I mean, I know it's
Me
like
either.
pretty popular these days, but it's just
I
not really my
reviewed
thing.
it, I hated it, and I sent the movie immediately on to a friend because I hated it so much.
Uh, I don't like none of those vomit gore movies. I don't know if you've seen those or not, like
Mhm.
the Lucifer Valentino or whatever movie. I don't like any of those because I don't like puking for one, but for two, I just feel like I don't get where that's got a purpose. Just people throwing up in movies.
Yeah, I'm not
But
into gross out horror. Like gross
yeah,
out horror just doesn't. And it's not that like there's some stuff I don't mind. Like Evil Dead is kind of right on the verge,
yeah,
but what they did with their effects was cool. It was like they were using like homemade stuff and they made great effects that looked really good on camera. But
yeah.
then you got some people, like you said, just doing it to kind of shock people, and it just doesn't seem to work out well.
Yeah, I mean, like it's one thing if you're watching The Exorcist and someone's possessed and they're puking pea soup all over the place because that's what they're supposed to do. But then you got a movie where people are legit just throwing up all over the place just to say they made an extreme movie, and that's when I'm kind of like, it's not for me. Which I have the box set of that. I watched the first one. I never watched the rest of them because at
Oh,
that
really?
point I was like, I don't need to see no more after that.
Right.
But
Yeah, I
and
was
then
like that with the violent shit box set. I watched one. I was like, okay, I'm not watching these crap fests anymore.
I muscled through those,
Did you
but
really? Oh, my
yeah,
condolences.
I I was hoping for better, like some
It was
way.
just so boring.
Because I love
It's
shot
like,
on video stuff, and I
yeah,
like bloody movies. I like those, but
mhm.
this just didn't do nothing for me.
That's the thing, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about with Morbid.
Hmm.
And please take this the way I mean it, not the way it may sound.
Hmm.
Morbid is not. It was your first film, okay?
Yeah.
Like you said, you were learning. You were just coming out, out of high
Hmm.
school doing this, and I think you did it. I think for what you guys had and what you did a great job. I think so.
Yeah, I
Now,
appreciate
when I
that.
first reviewed it, though, I was like, man, this is not that good. I enjoy it, but it's not that good. But the thing about it is that it's entertaining. and it
Yeah,
has rewatchable value.
Mhm.
So I already asked you if we were going to get a sequel, because that was kind of one of my questions, but I wanted to talk about that anyways. But if your movie is entertaining, if your movie gives pleasure to anybody, you've done your job. It doesn't matter what people say about it. It doesn't matter what critics say, anything. If you've done your job and you've given at least one person or whoever you're trying to reach pleasure out of watching your film, then I think you did your job well.
I agree
And
with that.
there's lots of movies that I hate, that I trash, like the Child's Play remake, for example. I've trashed that movie. I hate it.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that like it, and good for them for liking it. I'm glad they enjoy it. Whether they're right or wrong is of another opinion. So I wanted to ask you, aside from what's coming up or what you have coming up on your releases, what is your next project, if you can talk about it or if you want to talk about it? And what about any other future projects you might be coming up with?
Well, we have one movie that's pretty well done. It's called Arbor Day. It's kind of like in the style of Screwdriver. So if you watch Screwdriver and you like it, then this is kind of like the same thing. I don't know. It's we kind of shot them at the same time, kind of, but we never got one finished and we got the other one finished because, like I said, Corona and all that stuff got in the way and we never got to finish it. It should be coming out really soon. I think we just got to shoot like 2 or 3 scenes and it's done. And it's about a guy that's, he meets the love of his life. He's going to ask her to marry him, and then he's an environmentalist. I should say that up front. And then she tells him he's too concerned with his work to really, commit to a marriage. So she kind of leaves him hanging. So he invents this little potion that it'll turn people that consume the potion into trees. It's really weird, but my friend come up with the idea and we kind of went with that. So, and we was filming it, so it's almost done. And then after that, it's kind of a toss up. I've had this project called Ballad of the Worms that I've been talking about for years. It's kind of like I Spit on Your Grave meets Revenge of the Ninja type thing that I'm really kind of excited about eventually doing. It's just kind of been hard to get up and running. I kind of hope that's the next one. But if it ain't that, then it'll be probably a sequel to Door, One of the Five Doors to Hell, which, of course, Morbid 2 is always on the equation. I'm sure all these movies will get made at some point. It's always just a matter of like which ones come first and all that stuff. But those are probably the next things I'm working on at some point. But like I said, the Arbor Day one's 90% done, so you'll see it before you see any of the rest of them.
That definitely sounds interesting, especially with all of the implications it could have in the quote unquote political worlds of cinema, and the independent cinema. I definitely can't wait for something like that. Anything that'll push anybody's button is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's on which side or whatever, it doesn't matter. Sorry, I put it on mute for a minute because one of my kids out there got hurt or something, and Mom's taking care of it, but she was kind of loud.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I always get like there's always a little dab of political stuff in my movies, even even if we don't intend for it to be. We live in the South down here. It's a real southern area, and everybody around us seems to have extremely high political opinions in one way or the other. So it's always fun just to kind of like mess around there and just kind of like to have a little fun with it. I don't really take it that seriously myself, but I know people that do. So
I've never had an issue with political or social messages in a movie, as long as it doesn't overshadow the film.
Exactly.
And something like the new Black Christmas movie they did in 2019. That was complete. Just they say they were going for feminism, but what it came out was ultimate man hate on a huge level.
That was extreme man hate on that.
It's like okay, we get the point already. By like 20 and it kills me because I watched that movie and I'm sitting there thinking, under all this crap, there's a decent movie here.
Yeah.
Under all that crap, there was a decent movie, and it just but it's your film. If you want to throw in something that you think or whatever, or if you just want to poke fun at something, it's your film. You can do that.
Yeah, like in Morbid, when we have the fair scene, there's a little line about come and do like the shooting thing before Obama takes away everybody's gun, because during that time period, everybody was scared that people were just going to come take your guns away. Apparently, so I thought it was funny just to throw in for a little joke there.
Speaking of which, I noticed that, and of course, this is because of budget constraints and things like that. On
Hmm.
Morbid with the sheriffs and stuff, you didn't have a lot of equipment to go for them.
No, no.
If you need if you need like firearms and help with from a firearm expert and stuff like that, you just
Uh-huh.
call me. You help get me out there. I'll bring all my guns with me. I've got about 30 or 40 of them,
Hmm.
and and we'll just go. I'll give classes and we'll go through, and because I'm actually certified and trained and all that good stuff.
That could come in handy. Like what are the things you'll notice with some of our movies is the sound, the gun sound you hear does not
Mhm.
match the gun that's coming out of sometimes.
I did notice that, and once again, though, that chalks up to being, part of the, just a low budget, and then also, as you said, you were learning your first film, things like that. And
Mhm.
nowadays, we were talking about digital effects and stuff. I have to use digital stuff. That was where I was going with that short. Is I have to use digital stuff on some of the shorts I do because that's all I have access to as
Yeah,
far as like certain things to make certain effects. For these little, but they're just little shorts, and I'm not putting them up for anything but my own pleasure.
yeah,
And then we do like Dollar Tree, crap too, and fake
yeah.
blood and whatever. But like, there is actually a really good sound thing now that my friend Dave Maggot uses, and he went and put on one of my shorts that I did. He went and brought it, and he brought in and put the shotgun gunshot sounds on,
Yeah.
and it sounds amazing. And I saw
Mhm.
one on Instagram that I actually was thinking about purchasing myself, but I'm wary on things I see on Instagram. Is it real? Is it fake? Is it a scam?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, now there's so much things out there that filmmakers have these tools, whether they like digital or don't like digital, or there's so many things you can do. And even like you said, even if you're doing everything practical yes, and muzzle flashes. Sorry, Dave. You
Mhm.
also put muzzle flashes. If you really want to do it, like you said, we now carry a portable film studio in our pockets.
Yeah.
Most of the big cell phones these days have great quality.
Yeah, they
And
do.
whether it's, how some people say, oh, I'm not filming on a phone, that's, below my standard or whatever. Film with what you got. At least that's my
Mhm.
opinion.
Yeah,
And that's how I
I'd
feel you
film
did
on
with like
anything.
Morbid.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I got your tripod.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to leave it set up somewhere. We did that, and after we done shot the scene, I went back and I'm editing it, and I'm like, I can't believe we left that there. Of course, we were probably to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning filming at that point. So
Right.
we were just trying to get things done. The woman's house that we were using, they just wanted us out of there. So we were trying our best to rush along, and we didn't get to go back. Yeah, we couldn't go back and redo it, so we just kind of had to leave it. And then I ended up doing a similar thing in door one, but it's not as obvious.
Right.
It's there though if you look, but it's not as
I
obvious.
had to tease you on a little bit because that's one of my
Mhm.
favorite parts. I'm like, there's the tripod every time I watch that.
Yeah.
So my question I've been waiting to ask you all night: what was the inspiration for, and how did you come up with Sky motherfucking Walk?
He's a lot of Ric Flair mixed in there with that. He's Ric Flair. Ric Flair had a potty mouth, I guess, and
Oh,
he's
Ric
kind of
Flair got
like yeah, but it's kind of like a combination of that mixed with like whatever high school jock you had at your high school that automatically thought he was like the
the
greater and
shit.
everything. Yeah, so it's a mixture of all of that just rolled into one, and
Yeah.
I love Richard Chilton's who did that part for me, and I absolutely love him. And I haven't got him in anything yet. Since I'm hoping to get him in like one of my next ones because like he's so good at what he does. It's just now it's gonna be kind of hard to have him play anything other than that. After
Well, don't
everybody.
typecast the guy, but I mean, they did that to me back in college when I was doing some college stuff. They always
Mhm.
cast me as the drunk. I was like, what? What? Why am I the drunk? But you know, I personally, he is my favorite part of the movie.
He's
You know,
well. He grows on people. I think he kind of
yeah,
borderlines between being people's favorite part and people's maybe least favorite parts. Because he is a little over the top, which of course that's by
right.
design. But he went
Yeah.
way even more than I imagined the character.
And
When
the
he
name itself, Skywalker. I mean, obviously, everybody Luke Skywalker. What
yeah,
made you use that? Why did you want to use that name?
I just thought it was funny. Somebody named Skywalker. Like you got to think like his family's they probably thought it was like super cool. Their last name's like Walker. So like, let's just name the kid Sky, so he's Skywalker.
Oh, really?
And
That's actually his last name was Walker?
yeah,
Oh,
in the movie that is, yeah. So like
oh, in the
that's
movie, yes. Okay.
yeah. But I thought that was like a cool name to use, which I try to like have names that just stands out. I mean, there's always the Johns and the Jessies and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But there's Skywalker, Xavier Montgomery,
Yeah.
the detective is named Brostersky, which my friend that come from a friend of mine who for years when he was growing up claimed he's going to start a band and call it Brostersky and the Pelicans. I don't even know where that name come from,
Hmm.
but I thought it sounded so funny. I was like, that's a detective name, so he could be the detective. So I try to have names that just kind of stand out, like the killer in Screwdriver's named Barnabas. Just odd stuff.
Right. And with with Skywalker too, you were able to throw so much fun stuff in the middle of that name.
Mm-hmm.
Like my favorite, I'm motherfucking goddamn fucking Sky, God's gift to fucking women's walk, fucker.
Yeah,
And that's just like,
it's so funny because
was that
he
him or
never
was that you? Did you write those lines or was that him
that
putting them in there?
they was some of those F words were in there. He kind of added some to it. Which is funny because before this, he had never actually cursed. Like he did not curse. That was his thing.
Really?
He was a good guy, never cursed, all that. And in the movie, I'm like, well, I need you to do this. So he agreed to do it. And I guess because it was his only time ever really doing it, I guess he decided to go all in with it. So, which 90% of everything that was said was written anyway. I mean, there's a few ad libs here or there, but like everything was in the script. But he definitely added some extra stuff in between the Skywalker when he was in his full
Right.
rant mode.
It works, man. It really does work.
Mm.
What was up with the and this is even one of my questions. I'm sorry, when I get into these interviews, I start thinking of things.
Mm.
What was with the guy? And I wonder, was it you? I don't think it was you, but that was doing. He was like the Southern white rap kid doing on the
No,
video.
that was
That's
my
not
cousin.
you. Okay,
No, that was my cousin.
what was that all
I'm the
about?
guy. I'm the guy that gets his throat slit in the car when the girl's working on the
Yeah, I
car.
recognize you from that.
Yeah, no,
But
that was my
I was
cousin
like,
doing the rapping. Because like the whole TV segment thing is, I really grew up in a place that was really called Grundy County, and that's where this is taking place.
mhm,
And they actually had a GCTV, which was a little closed circuit TV network there, and they
right,
would air like ball games and stuff like that on it. So I was just like, one, yeah, it was just filling a little bit of time because of first we were running short on time when we made the movie, but second of all, they would show some weird local programming with like local artists singing and stuff like that. So that was just kind of like a take on that. It's like, oh, well, here's a little block of a little show on the network which is showing local artists do music and stuff like that.
right.
So it's kind of just showing that to give you an idea. Plus, I think it's awkward, so therefore I thought it was cool to leave in the movie. And it's just like that's happening. Then they interrupt it for the special bulletin. But
Right.
if there ever is a part two, the rapper has a prominent role in part two. so, so you
Oh
will
man,
see him again, which you see him in everything. That's like I said, that's my cousin, and he's in all the other movies we've done. Which of course he was a kid then. He's grown more now, so obviously he's got better parts in the other stuff we've done.
right. That's it's funny because we actually do have those kind of things here. I live in the Albuquerque area, right around Albuquerque, New Mexico. So
Mm-hmm.
we actually have like 2 or 3 of those type of channels that do local stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
We kind of went over this already too. One of the questions I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts on CGI and horror, especially with most of your stuff being done as practical effects? And
I prefer practical, but I know that you're going to get CGI these days. It's just something that's going to happen, and it's improved greatly. I mean, you go back and watch movies that came out in the early 2000s, and that stuff looked pretty bad, but now it looks better, because I mean the old Blood CGI kind of looked like it was like a Nintendo 64 Blood or something,
Mhm.
and now it looks a whole lot better. I still prefer the practical stuff, but I mean, people are going to use the CGI. At least it looks better than it did. I mean, we are in a world now where you can have people that are dead pretty much pop up in movies, and it doesn't look too out of place. So
Right.
CGI has gotten better over the years.
Especially if you can really afford it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if have you seen the new Mortal Kombat yet?
Not yet. I need to
Yeah,
see it though. I keep putting it off for some reason. I don't know why. I think I got a little discouraged because Johnny Cage isn't supposed to be in the movie or whatever.
I
Because I always
guess.
liked Johnny Cage.
Well, I don't want to give away what's going to happen in the movie for anybody. But I do hear that the next film, this is actually going to be they've already announced that it's going to be a Mortal Kombat universe.
Yeah.
And they're going to do multiple films. And the next one is either going to be a standalone Johnny Cage film, or it's just going to really prominently feature Johnny Cage. And they kind of lead into that in the first movie. I don't want to give it away, but they lead into it.
From what I gather, there was an animated Scorpion movie that came out earlier, like this year or last year. I think it was last year.
2020 it came out. In fact, I just watched that yesterday.
I feel like the movie, from what I'm seeing, takes a lot from that, or takes a part of that from that, like especially with the origin of Scorpion. I think maybe.
Give and take. What they said on the special features of what I watched the new movie is that they took a lot more of the newer video games storylines. They kind of simplified them down, and the animated one takes more the actual video game, the original movie, and then this movie, and kind of like puts it all together. Both are very good in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I've been seeing a lot of people complain about the new one, but I gotta say, if you never played the original video game on Super Nintendo back in the day, then I don't think they should complain, because it's and just in my opinion, it's basically what a Mortal Kombat movie should be. It's mostly about the fighting, and it's about the gore, and that's what we wanted as kids. I mean, Mortal Kombat was the first fight game with gore in it.
Oh yeah, I love Mortal Kombat when I was growing up. That was like my main thing, which I'm not an expert by any means on it, but I know quite a bit about the history of the characters and stuff on that. So I'm excited that there is a new one, because one of the first movies I ever seen in theaters when I was a kid was the first Mortal Kombat movie.
And I love that movie too. I love the original Mortal Kombat movie. It's very nostalgic for me. The second one was crap. Yeah. But this one, I think it's a very, very good movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't see why anybody's talking crap about it. I do feel that the new character they brought in is a little unnecessary.
Yeah, that's one thing about it. Like, I felt that was a little bit weird just to throw him in there.
I don't know if they're setting up for another game or what, but the dude does an amazing job, and he's a really good fighter. Yeah. And that was something I thought was cool in this movie is everybody they didn't go all like A-list stars. They got real good fighters.
Yeah.
And they did a really good job. And something you may be interested to know is I've heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard that The Miz is going to play Johnny Cage in the next movie.
He would work. I think he
looks kind of like him. I mean,
and he's already been in the B action movies, so
he would have to learn how to do some more martial arts, I think, unless he knows more than I know that he knows.
Yeah, he'd probably have to have help with that. But as far as he looks like Johnny Cage, so that could work.
He does, and I think he's a decent actor. I mean, those Marine movies he did, I mean, they weren't nothing spectacular, but like Part 5 especially, he got some critical acclaim for. That movie did pretty well.
The Miz character kind of feels like Johnny Cage at times, So I'd be for it.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I think he's definitely kind of modeled his character somewhat after that kind of like, personality. Well, actually, I've already started running out of questions, so I'm going to throw some questions out there, and I've got really one more question that I really want to ask you.
All right.
And then we can open it up to the audience and see what they have to say. How does it make you feel, man, to know that people like me, people like other reviewers, or just people in general, are actually watching something you created? I mean, and enjoying it. I mean,
it's unreal to think of, really. You're making a movie and you kind of hope that somebody's going to see it, because when you make something, you just want somebody to see it, and then have people actually enjoy it. That puts you over the moon when that happens, because there's a lot of people that don't enjoy it, which is always fun to read those reviews and stuff too. But I'm happy that it found an audience out there and that people do enjoy it and have fun with it. And it's definitely like you said, it's a movie that you probably need to watch more than once to maybe get. I think it's like a lot of people they watched it once, they probably was like, well, that's a little weird, so they kind of just probably never watched it again. But maybe if you have it and you didn't care for it the first time, maybe just go back and rewatch it and see what you think of it the second time around. But it's definitely cool to see people enjoy it and find an audience, find a crowd and stuff. And hopefully it can, if it motivates one person to make their own movie, I think I've accomplished something, because that's really what I just want to encourage people to just go out and do their own stuff,
Right. And it's also a great movie to watch with your friends.
Yeah.
That's something else about it too. It's definitely, I mean, the focus in the movie, there's a center focus of the setting is a party. And it's definitely a movie that you can watch with a party of people because you get your friends together all watching it. You guys are gonna have a blast. I can tell you that from experience. The first time I watched it, I watched with one friend.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I was like, I saw all the little things that because I was also getting ready for my review, so I was writing, and notes I was taking. But second time I watched it, we added another friend, and we just had fun and no notes. And he was even more of a blast. Third time we watched it, we added another friend. Then I started watching by myself.
When we did the premiere for that, like it was this big thing. They had it at an art center down here, and it was packed. Like the whole place was packed out with people, which was, it was like, wow, this feels like a big deal. It being as low budget indie as it was, is like all these people showed up, and the local newspaper was there and stuff, and like everybody watched it, and like they were laughing when you want them to laugh and all that stuff. So I walked out there feeling like at the time, like I had made, Evil Dead the way that people were acting in that party setting, with everybody there and all that. Which when it got to the very last part that you talked about, the big part at the end there, some old people walked out there at the movie, which is also funny. But but like and then when it come out, it kind of got little bad reviews there, which I forgot. There's a YouTuber, I can't believe I forgot his name, but like there's a real popular YouTuber that I'm actually considered friends with now, but when he had done the review, one of the original reviews when it came out, like he thought it was like one of the worst things he'd ever seen, which was kind of a downer, but I'm happy, like I said, that people are liking it, and thankfully you guys. I mean, it's probably you guys is the reason that the DVD of it is probably going for such a high rate now on eBay. I seen one guy had it on there for like $100 a while back, which has dropped to 60 now, but that's still a little.
And I got lucky. I got mine from a friend of mine who sent me a bunch of older Wild Eye films that I didn't have because they were all out of print. And he sent them to me, and that's how I got it. So I was happy for that. And yeah, I went on eBay, and even for the Blu-ray DVD combo, or the Blu-ray combo of the two movies, Screwdriver and Morbid, I went to look because I knew it was already sold out. I knew I couldn't get my hands on one. So I went to eBay to look, and there was one on there for like $50.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I missed out on it. I didn't get it. So
I know, and it's like it's weird to see like your movie be one of those movies that are overpriced on eBay and stuff, because like there's all kinds of like mostly old shot on video movies and stuff that people want, and they'll get on eBay and try to find it, and there'll be like an ungodly number, like Donald Farmer's, some of his movies from Master Video, I think Demon Queen and stuff like that is like priced outrageously on eBay right now if you go, and then to see my movie be one of those that are extremely overpriced, it's interesting, which I feel like there's probably a lot of copies of that movie out there somewhere. I just don't know.
Jack, they did a re-release a few months ago with a double pack of his other movie, Screwdriver. Because we covered this a little while ago. They're re-releasing it again on DVD in a double pack in August. You said?
Yeah, August.
In August.
Sometime in August.
So, guys, that's all the questions I had for Chuck today. What do you guys got? Anybody out there want to ask anything or make any comments or, throw some shade our way?
Yeah. Open any questions, any and all questions, no matter how weird they might be.
Well, weird, huh?
Yeah. I don't care. Whatever anybody wants to ask.
The conversation at the beginning of Morbid.
Yeah.
The conversation between the two guys on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I got to ask is, were those two guys fucking each other? Not in real life. I mean, the characters, not the actors.
Your answer would be yes to both of those, by the way.
Okay.
Funny thing about that. That they can do whatever they want to do. Obviously, I'm for whatever everybody wants to do. We needed two people to play the role. It was supposed to be best friends, obviously, but those were the guys that we got to show up and do the part. It was the day of. That's who showed up. They wanted to do it. I was like, all right, we'll shoot it. We'll see how it goes. And just so happened that they were two guys that were dating each other. So
that's fine. I don't care.
I don't either. I mean,
because I felt it. You could tell.
Yeah, you could tell that.
And more than just friends, you could tell. I did want to kill the one guy when he talked about Halloween being. I wanted to kill him. I was just
that's kind of like a reaction there that
we're sitting there going, I hope this motherfucker gets killed first.
Which I had similar conversations with my friends before about that. Like some of them wasn't as into Halloween, as other people was, and we've had the same kind of conversation, which I'd read online before. The whole story about how they kind of said that John Carpenter might have got the idea for Halloween from Bob Clark and Black Christmas and all that. So I
Yeah,
thought it was
but
an
John Carpenter
interesting
claimed that
subject.
he never saw Black Christmas.
Yeah.
You know?
So I thought like that was a pretty interesting thing to have two people talking about, and plus like people like us that are really into the genre will be familiar with it, and be like, oh, I've heard of that, which.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, like I said, the overtones of it there is, obviously they shine through, and some people thought I did that, just to be kind of like I guess genre bending at the time or something, because maybe at the time there wasn't as many like gay couples or whatever in movies or horror movies or anything.
Yeah.
But it just worked out that way, and I'm happy with it.
I don't really care what anybody does. That's all good.
I don't either. I don't either.
It doesn't bother me at all.
I thought they did good for the roles, and that's all I
I
cared.
was just curious because it seemed like there was more. It did, okay. I've had a lot of those conversations with my buddies here, and I can tell you that they just seemed closer. So that did bleed through. Obviously, I was just curious though. So we got a few questions here. The first one I want to ask you is from my buddy Dave Maggot. I don't know if you follow Dave's channel or not, if you ever watched him, but he's also a film director. He did the movie Groundhog, the slasher film, and he's working on a new movie called Apnea. He did a part of the film that I'm in called Theater of Gore 2 from producer Tony Newton. Yeah. And he's working on another anthology piece for Tony Newton. And he wants to know, is it okay if the Morbid screwdriver poster ends up in a shot in the movie? Do you care?
No, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Okay, so he's not going to get sued or anything.
No. As a person that likes the fact that in the Hills or in Evil Dead, there's a Hills Have Eyes poster there, and then I like seeing posters pop up in the background of movies. I think at one time I may have a pork chop poster at one of my movies in the background. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and check, but at one time we were going to do that.
Well, yours is going to be in one of his movies, or at least that segment he's filming for a Tony Newton movie. And if you've never seen a bunch of Tony Newton films, he does really good anthologies from. He's over in England.
I think I got a few. I think I'm in like one he's doing, like a documentary he's doing. I think.
Nice.
If he's doing one about, I think Physical Media Lives or something like that, I think that's the guy doing it.
Okay, yeah, I know that documentary.
Yeah, I did a thing for that, so I should be in that.
The Horror Man would like to know, was the look of the businessman inspired by Decker from Nightbreed?
Not intentionally, but it definitely looks like it. Like I was surprised when I seen Decker, because I hadn't seen, as far as I remember, I hadn't seen Nightbreed at that point. And then when I went back and people were like, "Oh, that's Nightbreed," I was like, "What do you mean?" And they showed me that. I was like, "Oh, that looks just like that." So it's an accident, but I guess we can say it's true. I've seen Nightbreed now, and I like the character Decker, so why not? But originally it was going to be a pig head, killer, but it was at the time when like there were so many different movies coming out with pig head killers at the time. So
pig head.
Yeah.
Another question from the Horror Man is, how thrilled were you with the amazing cover art Morbid received for its DVD release?
I loved it. And I was very happy when it got changed to that, because originally they were giving it like one of those, like I call it a red box special cover, that's kind of like get the back of somebody holding a knife, and then there's like a girl that's not even in the movie, like cowering in the corner, and they were going to do that, and I was just like, that's definitely not going to work, which, and I didn't complain about it. Like Rob at Wild Eyes, like, look, I was like, here is a million different movies that's come out with that same type cover, which is a killer standing with a weapon in his hand, and there's either somebody crawling on the ground in front of them, or there's, it just kind of just didn't stand out. And at one point he was going to do a VHS release of it, which they were doing at the time. So the art for the VHS was what ended up being used for the DVD. And I'm glad they didn't even release the VHS, and I'm glad they ended up using that cover for DVD, because I love the cover, and that's, like I said, that's the only sad thing about it coming out from another company, is if you don't have the same, cover, like a Blu-ray come out, we couldn't use the cover, which I would like to use.
Once, or if your deal ends with SRS, you can give me a holler. I got Rob's here. I see about getting that re-released.
Okay.
And it's funny because, like you said, the guy that did that cover, he went on to do like Scream Factory covers, things like that. So,
yeah, super nice.
You've got a cover that's being done by somebody who, has done some covers for some pretty big films.
Yeah, and he even went on to do a Nightbreed cover for like a record or something. So it was always fun to go back and compare the businessman's look with Decker's look,
Right. In fact,
drawn by the
and
same guy. Yeah.
your Morbid cover from Scream Factory and Stabbed in the Face, even though I hated that movie, the movie Stabbed in the Face from Scream Factory, or not, sorry, from Wild Eye,
Mm-hmm.
those are probably the two best covers, in my opinion, that they've ever put out. And
I was a fan of Creeps too. I don't know if you've seen
the
that
Creeps
cover, but
cover
I
is
think I
very
just like
cool.
the
I just
color
ordered that
design.
movie, by the way.
I like
I
that.
just
It's
ordered it.
one. It's low budget and everything, but I like that type of stuff. I'm a fan of that. It's entertaining. I think it might make a good double feature with Morbid if you're ever bored.
There's a sale going on right now over at MVD, and
Mm-hmm.
they've got Wild Eye movies on sale for like $4.95 and $7.95 a piece. Even
Yeah.
some of their brand new ones that they just put out. So I went and bought a bunch of movies over there, and Creeps is one of the ones I bought.
Did you get the old one with like the cover art that's
I
drawn, or did you get like the raw and extreme version?
This is the newer one, the Raw and
Mm.
Extreme, but I still want to see
Yeah.
the movie. I just
Yeah.
uh, I mean, I got to get the one that I can find easiest, and
Yeah. Yeah. But
uh,
like I said, I'm a fan of those drawn covers anyway.
yeah.
And I feel like when Father's Day come out, it's kind of like when that started again, or maybe House of Devil when they started drawing the covers again for these indie horror films.
I watched a review for House of the Devil, and I've never seen it, and it made me want to go and watch it, so I went and picked that up.
It's good.
So
Which I love Wes Anderson stuff. So or there's Wes Anderson, Ty West. Wes Anderson did big budget stuff, but Ty West, he did House of Devil and The Innkeepers and all that stuff. Which his stuff sometimes is a little slow, but it's usually got a good payoff.
slow burns are fine if they're done right. I mean,
Yeah, there for a long time.
it,
House of Devil was hard to find for a long time, and then all of a sudden, like I think it was FYE or one of those had it for $5 in their Blu-ray bin. It's like, well, that's a very good deal.
yeah, and it just got picked up on. I just ordered my copy off of
Yeah.
Hamilton book. So, let's see. Anybody else got any questions out there? Dave said, Horrorman says he would love a VHS with it. He'd buy it right now. He'll give you money right now. He'll PayPal it to you. You got
Well,
VHS.
if we had
He's a
one,
big VHS collector. He's trying to build
yeah,
a video store in his basement, so to speak.
yeah, I there for a long time. Like, why would I put out a lot of stuff on VHS?
They still do
I
on some of it.
I,
I
I
just
think
picked
I've
up the
still got
Splatter
some.
Farm.
Yeah, looking over here, I've still got like Driller and Race War and Mold. I've still got stuff like that from the VHS line.
I just picked up Return to Splatter Farm on VHS too.
I need to see Return to Splatter Farm. I like the Polonia Brothers and the Polonia Brothers stuff.
My review for it will be coming out tomorrow. Actually, I should have had it done already, but I'm not finished yet. But,
Stuff gets in the way. I got like a bunch of reviews I need to do that I've done.
well, I mean, you know as well as I do because you work a job too. You have a 9 to 5, so to speak, and I'm not sure you have a family and all. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all that stuff for all of us. And you're trying to do movies, you're trying to do wrestling. You got a pretty full plate, So
Yeah, it definitely free time is something that gets harder to come by. It seems like these days. But that's why I feel, I scaled back on the wrestling stuff because it can really come down to it's going to be wrestling or it's going to be movies, and I think I did wrestling long enough for now, so I need to go back to the movie stuff.
When you're not making the movies or doing all the stuff you have to do, what do you like to do besides watching movies for reviews?
Not a whole lot. I like to take it easy, when possible. I do have like a pretty large action figure collection also to go with my movie collection, which is definitely taking out room. I got a whole lot of free space anymore, but I buy like I said, still big into wrestling, so I watch wrestling all the time, and I've got a bunch of wrestling action figures, which is so hard to find these days because like for some reason the action figure market is like scalped to death these days.
No.
Stuff like that, which
around here. I know every time I go looking for figures at the store, they're sold out.
Yeah, Walmart. Walmart and Target's like your number 2 place, 1 or 2 places to check for them around here, and somebody gets to them before I do most of the time.
In fact, I just bought a WWE figure, and I haven't bought a wrestling figure since I was a little kid.
Yeah, what'd you get?
Wrestling figure since I was a little kid. Well, I'm a huge Masters of the Universe fan.
Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of those.
I mean, I'm an '80s child and a '90s teenager, so I love Masters of the Universe, and they started re-releasing them, and I started getting all the ones they've been re-releasing that I can find.
Yeah.
They've only done the first wave here so far, but they put out a line of WWE crossed with Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
And they had a few at the stores. They had like Macho Man and Roddy Piper and a few, but the only one I bought the John Cena Faker.
Yeah, I've
It's
got
because
that
it's
one.
that clear blue plastic, and you can see, and it's
Uh-huh.
so cool looking. And I'm also a John Cena fan, but
Yeah, I got a bunch of those that come out recently, and I've been buying like the new Masters of the Universe ones, which around here it was wave one primarily still everywhere, but one store got wave two, but they all got bought out before I get there. I think I got like a Man of Many Faces or Many Faces or whatever,
that
and I
Many
want.
Faces is actually wave 3.
Oh wow,
The
well,
wave
yeah,
2 only got released in Europe, so the
yeah.
only way to get them here is online. And there are a couple like what's that website, Big Toy Store or something like that.
Big Bad Toy Store. Yeah.
Yeah, they have them. They had them for pre-order or something. You could get them, but I heard they were way backed up.
Yeah, I wish like I want to get like Scare Glow and Orco and all those guys, and I
eBay, you
don't
can get
know.
them all on eBay right now for about $15 each.
I'm probably going to have
15
to
to
end up
20.
doing that.
Yeah, I am too. Probably if I can. My wife's making
Mhm.
me cut down. I'm spending too much money on other collectibles.
Yeah, it my like my Walmart got Panther, the flocked one with the actual real fur on it,
Oh, really nice.
but I think it's like $40 though, which the Battle Cat was just like 25.
Yeah,
And
I
if you go
haven't
to
got Panther
Target,
yet.
Panther's at Target, but he ain't got the fur, he's just
Yeah, they first
purple.
released him as just a plastic one, and then they decided to do him flocked.
And then they charge double for it
Oh,
pretty much. But
yeah.
when I was a kid, I remember like my Panther had the flocked going on, I believe,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, the
because
originals did.
I had almost all of these when I was a kid. I wish I had never got rid of them because I even had Eternia when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too, man. And then, but I guess you could say, now we put them on the wall, we keep them in the cases, in the
Hmm.
plastic or in the boxes. But as a kid, I played with mine, and that's what they were for when I was a kid. So,
Yeah,
do I kick myself thinking, oh man, you had that GI Joe Fortress that's not worth like $7,000? But yeah, I kicked myself. But at the same time, I had a great time with them, so it's all good. It is what it is.
I've been buying a lot of the GI Joes too. They put out new GI Joes, which I've been getting when you can find them. They're like one of the main ones that everybody's getting
I
and flipping for triple the price.
I found Roadblock and I found the Hiss tank at my local Walmarts, and everything else is sold out like as soon as it gets there.
I had to end up like basically just saying I ain't going to buy the original ones because like the little small ones because
Yeah.
that's the one everybody else is buying. And if I couldn't get all of them, I didn't want them. And like I wanted Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and all that stuff.
Right.
And I ended up just getting the classified series, the bigger ones.
Okay.
Which they're even harder to find. Which Walgreens, believe it or not, is a good place to find them. I actually found my Cobra Commander at
Walgreens
Walgreens.
does get some stuff I notice every once in a while. Yeah.
So
I actually buy a lot of horror stuff at Walgreens, especially around Halloween time.
yeah,
Like
me
I've
too.
got.
I bought the Bendies, the Universal Monster Bendies, a couple years ago that come
Oh,
out, like
cool.
the
That's
Bendums or
awesome.
whatever.
I've got a Freddy Krueger candy dish that
Hmm.
like tries to attack you when you go to reach in for it.
Yeah.
And then I've got shitty ass. I got a couple of them actually. Shitty Rob Zombie Halloween masks that I just use to fuck around with, and I do them on videos right because I've got nice ones. I've got a few
Yeah.
Trick or Treat Studios masks and things like that. But
Hmm.
but this is just for fun to mess around with. And then I'll autograph them and send them to people during for my contests.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like a big shot. So, guys, anybody else have any more questions, or are we all done? Come on, y'all. Throw out the questions. I know you got some stuff out there. Castle Grayskull, I think, comes out next month, Jack. I'm not sure. The end of this
Yeah.
month or next month?
That comes with don't it come with the sorceress?
It comes with a special edition Sorceress, all silver.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
I've got it pre-ordered. I don't remember when it comes out though. Well, if nobody else has any more questions for Chuck, I will say, sir, it's been awesome having you on. I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoyed it.
I'm glad we got to do this. I know like last week things got a little twisted around. I'm happy I was able to finally make it on here. Third time's the charm, they say.
Things happen, it is what
Yeah.
it is. I really appreciate you coming on and definitely thank you for it. And I can't wait for those re-releases because I definitely want to get Screwdriver. I definitely want to get door 1 of the 5 doors of hell. Did I say it right that time?
You got it right. You got it right.
All right, sweet. And I can't wait for your new stuff coming out. That it sounds like Arbor Day sounds like it's going to be a blast.
Hopefully, this no later than summer. We should have that, and maybe by the end of the year, at least have one more. So that's what I'm going for.
Nice. Well, guys, it sounds like there's a lot of good stuff coming from Chuck. I hope you guys have enjoyed the interview. As always, go and check out the BroncoJuggalo Teespring store, the house, or the hell's my store called? Whatever, it's my Teespring store. Links are in the description usually. Go and check out Chuck's channel, zombiesdontrundotnet, right? Or is it .com?
Yep, it's .net. It's all spelled out too on the YouTube channel portion of it.
Yeah, and then he has his website as well. So go check that out. Check out Morbid. Check out door 1 of the 5 doors of hell. Check out Screwdriver. And when it comes out, check out Arbor Day. I want to thank Chuck again and thank all you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. Peace out, everybody.